In 2010, there was outbreak of lead poisoning in Zamfara State. At that time, over 400 children were reportedly dead. In 2012, I was struggling to get information on what has happened for 2 years. I visited the Ministry of Environment, the Ministry of Health, and the Ministry of Mines and Solid Minerals. In all these MDAs, I kept getting 3 questions. Who are you? What political party do you belong to? And why are you asking? Out of my frustration, I got on a bus going to Gusau. And to put this into context, before that time, I've never been to Zamfara State. It took me 7 hours under over 40 degrees centigrade. And finally, I got to Gusau. At the bus stop in Gusau, I kept asking people, how can I get to the community that children had died 2 years back? Everyone looked at me like something was wrong with me. But of course, because I was dressed properly, they just who is exploring. From Gusau to Anka took 4 hours plus, and the roads were terrible. From Anka to Bagega took another 4 hours, but this time you can only go via 4 means: via a motorbike, a donkey, a horse, or a camel. So I rode on a motorbike for over 3 hours, and I got to this community. 1, I found out that over 700 children had died 2 years ago. So what it meant was it was underreported. 2, 1,500 children were very sick and at the verge of losing their life under 5 years. 3, the billions of naira that was released by federal government as an intervention never got to this community. With my smartphone and permission from the communities, I took pictures, I did short interviews. Coming back to Abuja, on my way, we got attacked by what you call bandits today. At that time, we called them cattle rustlers. I saw people in black, all covered, attacked our motorbike and asked us to lie down flat and empty our pockets. So I dropped my phone and the money with me. Their leader rode on a horse and he came. From engagement, he found out that I was a humanitarian worker, and he asked his men to allow me go. Back in Abuja, I had sleepless nights. I was seeing the faces of the people I have engaged. I was seeing the faces of the bandits that had attacked me, and I was restless. So with technology and aggregating all the information I had collected on the ground, we started a campaign with a hashtag called Save Bagega. The name of the community was Bagega, and it needed to be saved. And at that time, all we're asking citizens was to sign a petition to get President Goodluck Jonathan to release a sum of $5.3 million, which was close to 1 billion naira. In less than 48 hours, our campaign started trending on Twitter with the hashtag Save Bagega. So what happened was, from Twitter, it went from CNN, BBC, Al Jazeera, DW, VOA, and then to mainstream media. I found myself jumping from one Zoom call to another, one Skype call to another, engaged in international media and local media. Because interestingly, at that time, I was the only person that had visited this community. No government official had actually stepped a foot in that community. While all this was going on, I had just finished secondary school at that time, trying to get admission into university. It took me 4 years writing German post-UME. So it was a struggle for me. And when all of this was still going on, I gained admission into the University of Abuja, studying political science. And because of the heat of the moment, in less than 72 hours, the president at that time announced and released a sum of $5.3 million. We're really excited as young people. We're excited because we knew that this community would bounce back better. But we did not lose focus, because 2 years down the line, billions was released and nothing happened. And then we started a campaign called Follow the Money. to track this money from Abuja to Gusau and down to the community in Bakega. It was exams time when all of this was going on at the university. And I asked myself, should I sit back in Abuja and write my papers or travel down to Bagega community? That would take me about 14 hours or more. So I left my exams and I continued my journey to ensure that this money moves judiciously to this community. And as I do all this work, one of the defining moments was the first day when the officials from the Ministry of Environment was on ground, because they needed local laborers to employ to excavate the soil and bring clean soil. So they take away the contaminated soil. The first day they were meant to pay 2,500 to over 100 laborers, which was on the budget. But because of corruption, the official paid them 1,500 each. And because of our engagement on the ground, translating budget information into local Hausa, they all gathered themselves under a big mango tree and said, but according to Follow the Money, we're supposed to get 2,500. Why are we getting 1,500? So they invited the official from the Ministry of Environment and said, Follow the Money had told us during a community engagement that if we get hired for this work, we'll get 2,500. Why are you paying us 1,500? Are you paying us 1,500 today to complete the money tomorrow? Or what exactly is the issue? So this official got confused and then brought out a Ghana must go and balanced all of them 1,000 naira. What that experience taught us is when you empower and engage community effectively, they would be able to not only bounce back, but hold leaders to account for their own rights. There was an incident in Gusau because after the campaign, every month, there was a stakeholders meeting hosted by the executive governor of the state. And because of my campaign with Follow the Money, we get invited to sit at that meeting. Usually we have about 70 people in this meeting. You have people from the community, you have politicians and public officials, you have officials from Abuja, you have security personnel, and of course the traditional rulers. While this meeting was ongoing, the State Security Department, DSS, stormed the meeting and asked, so while the meeting was ongoing, we saw hillocks and men in black with AK-47 and automatic rifles. They came in and they asked, who is Hamzat Lawal? Right now I have a bit of flesh and I'm a bit tall. Imagine how I looked 15 years ago or 10 years ago. And they asked, who is Hamzat Lawal? At that time, the meeting was chaired by the Commissioner for Environment. And he said he has the authority under the executive governor to chair this meeting, and everybody in this meeting is a key stakeholder, and he cannot identify, or he would not identify who Hamzat Lawal was. The director kept yelling, who is Hamzat Lawal? I have an arrest order. So I stood up innocently, and I said, sir, my name is Hamzat Lawal. I am Hamzat Lawal. He said, shut up and sit down. You cannot be Hamzat Lawal. And then at that moment, I was wondering, should I shut up and sit down, knowing that I am Hamzat Lawal? And I said, sir, I am Hamzat Lawal. And because the hall was quiet, so he just figured, oh, this is actually the young man. Then he said, you, this small boy. So you're the one instigating young people against government, arresting. At that moment, I was vulnerable. I was angry. I was sad. I was shattered. So I saw two men with handcuffs coming towards me, who is innocent, who have not committed any crime. Today, they were coming to handcuff me. And in my head, I was saying, but I'm not a criminal. I haven't done anything wrong. As they approached me, over 40 members of the community stood in front of me. And they told the DSS official that before you would arrest Hamzat Lawal, you have to arrest over 40 of us before you get to him. And then an argument broke out. It was really heated and intense. So the director stepped out, made a few phone calls, and he came in and he said, this is your last warning. Stop instigating young people against the government. The arrest has been lifted. My men let us go. That experience taught me one lesson, that as much as we're activists, we're advocates, and we're human rights defenders, we cannot defend our own rights. If we defend the right of people, those people will stand for us when others want to go. But I also seized that moment to bounce back. I approached this director, who was an older man, and I said, "Sir, please, I want to ask you for a favor." He grumbled, and he said, "What?" And I said, "Please, I would want you to sit down and listen to this meeting. And at the end, I want you to deduce if what I'm doing here is instigating people against their government." And he obliged. He sat down. He listened to over 3 hours conversation of key stakeholders giving updates and me also giving updates about how much has been released and what the money was doing on the ground and how it's going to save lives. At the end of the meeting, he took me to a corner and he said, "Young man, I am really sorry. I am sorry that I was about to arrest you, not even knowing what the magnitude of the issue was." He said, "Young man, interestingly, the children there could actually be mine. If not for my education and exposure, probably I'll be in that community and the kids that are sick or those that have died would be one of mine. Please continue what you're doing and I would find a way to support you." While all this was going on, and it took about 1.5 years for this community to get remediated, for this over 1,500 children to get treatment, and by the way, right now they're all fine. But because of how we're able to document the journey itself, taking bikes, driving on terrible roads, in this community there was no access to potable drinking water, no school, no primary health care center. So various government MDAs and development partners took our report. So today, it will take you less than 1 hour from Anchor to Bagega community because the roads are tar. Today, they have solar-powered borehole and they get clean, portable drinking water. They've also built them a state-of-the-art primary health care center with doctors and nurses. In their primary school, they have a computer laboratory. And the last time I was in Bagega, I did a tweet from Bagega because this time there was a network where you can tweet and you can make phone calls. So today, Bagega community have not only bounced back, but they're building better. And that's how my story and journey with Follow the Money started. In 2017, I got an email from the US State Department to join their international trainers program. And what this means is they would take me around the world to engage emerging leaders, young emerging leaders, build their capacity and mentor them over time. But I want to share one particular journey. I got an invite from the US State Department to visit Cambodia. Cambodia is in Southeast Asia. To go to Cambodia, you have to fly 48 hours non-stop. To get a visa to go to Cambodia as a Nigerian, you have to fly to Washington, D.C., or you have to go to Dubai. So at that time, the US State Department was happy for me to come to D.C. or go to Dubai. Well, from Abuja to Dubai, if you use Emirates, it's about 5 hours. From Abuja to Washington, D.C., it's over 10 hours. And there's a layover either in Europe or in Dubai. And to me, it was madness to just fly, get a visa, and then fly another 48 hours to Cambodia. I told them I was not traveling just to get a visa, that if they cannot get me to Cambodia with my Nigerian passport, I am not going. And because of the value that I would bring to the conversation, the ambassador in Cambodia wrote a letter to the government of Cambodia. The US ambassador in Cambodia said they have a special guest coming to Cambodia and they want them to issue me a visa waiver. So what happened was the Cambodian government wrote to the Emirates and said there's a passenger that would board with a Nigerian passport from Nigeria. He doesn't have a visa, but he's our guest, so allow him board. And it was an interesting journey because even clearing immigration and custom in Nigeria, they just looked at me with my ordinary passport, and a smallish young guy who is a guest not only to the American government, but the Cambodian government. And I flew for 48 hours. I got to Cambodia. There was a military guy waiting for me. In less than 5 minutes, I got the stamp in, and I got a SUV to take me to the ambassador's residence. In Cambodia, I met over 300 emerging leaders from the region. So from Laos, from Myanmar, from countries from that region. And for them, they were excited, of course, to meet with me. And I shared the Bagega story and told them how they can build on it, leveraging on grassroots activism or being factivism. Because again, it's about not only getting out there what people are saying, but what you have experienced in real time and how this can be life-changing. I trained over 300 of them and I came back to Nigeria. I'm sharing the story to tell you that you can be in Maiduguri, you can be anywhere around Nigeria, but if you do very good work, the sky is actually your starting point. But in all of this glamour, I was struggling with university. I had over 20 carryovers. I had dropped out over 7 times. It sounds funny, right? But I was struggling. I was struggling with even getting time to go and write my exams and dealing with lecturers who think I'm just too ambitious and too stubborn and not wanting to graduate. And I dropped out over 7 times. And I tell you this because in this entire journey, in bouncing back, there will be challenges. But if you keep persistent, if you keep focused, you're going to not only bounce back, but you remain on that course to changing and touching lives. In 2019, I went into deep depression. I went into depression because of the successes that comes with the work that I do. A lot of you would think that with the publicity, with the recognition and award, it is easy. It's never easy. But what I have done is to build a community of people that I get inspiration and powers from. Because it's not about me or what I do. It's about the people that I serve. And when you serve people truly, the world is a place for you to conquer. Thank you.